Alright. You should be live. Again. Monthly challenge series May is coming. Yeah, I was gonna say. Pretty sure they're doing a singles. Well, I know they're doing a singles competition this month. I don't know if they're doing anything with doubles again. But yeah, they released information about that singles tournament sometime recently. I kind of forget. Okay, so I'm just gonna say one thing here, okay? And that is Galar Slowbro. Quick Draw, Quick Claw, Yadamingus. Don't count me out. So I just feel like it could be fun. You know what I'm saying? The only thing about it is that I don't really have a team that wants to run Trick Room that much. Like, if I'm running Trick Room, I'm literally bringing Slowbro, Ensign, Gengar, +1. You know what I mean? Or I mean, Slowbro, Ensign, Blastoise +1. So those are things. I do kind of like this Taunt Gengar idea. I also think we talked about the idea of doing a Trick Room Imprison for Rigorath, which would definitely solve some of the problems on this team, right? So that's something to say. Yeah. So I do think that we those are pretty much our options. Yeah, like we can do this Gengar. I'm not saying we can't do Gengar, but Farigiraf definitely works as a Pokemon. I would say we just replace Helping Hand, I guess, with Imprison. And then, if not that, I'm really interested in Quick Draw, Quick Claw, Slowbro, McGee. Like, Quick Draw, Quick Claw, Slowbro was on one of my first Pokemon competitive teams. And so sometimes you just gotta give a homie props where props are due. Morpeko was on one of my first competitive teams. They were on the same team. It was Morpeko, Slowbro, Urshifu, Type Null, Arcanine, and Excelgor. How's that for 6 Pokemon for you, my game? So we technically do have 3 of those Pokemon in this game, right? We have Slowbro, Morpeko, and Arcanine. Regular Arcanine. But I don't think that it's really worth doing, you know? So look. In the name of fun, let's get this man's out here. Let's get him doing things. Quick Draw, Quick Claw on your mans. Excuse me. One thing I will say about this team is that, like, there is absolutely times where I would like to squeeze Detect or Protect on Meowscarada. And unfortunately, the move that would have to go would be Ice Triple Axle. Or, well, no, that's not necessarily true. It's, unfortunately, what would have to go would be either Triple Axle or Knockoff, right? And it kind of feels like, in some instances, you're leaning towards Knockoff. Like, you know what I'm saying? So... Now, Gengar would have been very, very good into this matchup. And that is an unfortunate reality. That being said, Slowbro is pretty decent into this matchup. So here 2, there 4, Slowbro. But also here 2, there 4, Blastoise, question mark? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this with Slowbro in the back and Shark. Like, the interesting thing is their lead really makes them, is like what matters here, right? And they do go Venus, so it's not like Slowbro would have been a bad lead. Slowbro actually would have been a pretty good lead, but something I can do here is I can click Tailwind, Mega Fake Out. So there's no guarantee what our opponent's going to do here. We just know that we get our Fake Out if they Fake Out Wims. And if they Fake Out Blastoise, they still can't Fake Out my Wims because I have Sash, right? So we'll see what they do here. Yeah. Yeah, so technically a very dumb play from my part. All I really needed to do was switch in Slowbro, and we would have been in a very good position. So one of the questions I think becomes right now, is my best play technically just to like bring in the Shark and click Earthquake, right? Like, because I can Encore them. I mean, there's actually no reason to Encore them because of the position we're in. What I do is I Encore this slot and I just go for the Earthquake. Yeah. So we'll see if they bring in Pelipper. Yeah, so we technically might be in a very bad position here. I'd like this to... I don't even know if I want them to get a special attack going. So that I did want. So unfortunately, if I had gone for that slot, we would have just KO'd them. I think my concern is that Slowbro doesn't have the stuff to beat Archaludon, right? Alright. I technically could have called that. Ugh. That hurts. So I'd say that turn went fine, honestly. If they bring out Arch, like I said, we're in a pretty bad position. So we do know there's a good chance this Moon Blast will KO here, but my concern is that it's more important for me to like go for this. Ooh, that's rough. Alright. Don't count me out. Do not count me out. So we just need them to stay frozen forever, and then we need to get quick draw this turn. It's not impossible. Alright. Look, where there's a win con, there's a way. Can we just say... Alright. Alright, we need them to stay frozen for 2 more turns. 2 more. Maybe 3. I think 2. GG's. That's a 10-4 GG. We have fun. We have fun. So, if I had gone for the Moonblast on the Arch, I really don't think that it would have been enough to get us out of that, but I do think that if we had switched into Slowbro on turn 1, we would have been in a very different position than we were in that endgame. So, there's definitely some things to be said. Okay. That was a good game. So more Arch Rain stuff, very similar team to what we just faced. Quote unquote, unfortunately. So Slowbro does not have as good of a matchup into this, I'll be honest. This is another one where we could definitely say Blastoise looks pretty decent, right? I think maybe Shark or Meowscarada feels like the right lead here. I'm kind of leaning towards this right now. We do want Blastoise. And then late game Wims could be good. This is another reason why I kind of would like Sucker Punch Meowscarada. But I think that bringing more special damage could have been kind of the way around that. So. Only really in the case of, you know, helping also counter our Chaladon. So, here we can kind of just go for this and go for everybody likes a good quick draw. Like they're gonna almost definitely fake out that stuff. Because if they don't, yeah. Yeah, so that's fine. Seeded. We've been seeded. It would have been really funny to win that last one, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, don't count me out. Unfortunately, we might have wanted to stay in there and actually attack because I think we needed the extra damage to get this KO. Yeah. But the question is, would we have gotten the KO? And I don't know. So here, I think I'm going to bring the shark back in. And what I would like to do, honestly, is maybe if... I don't think that's a very consistent play, but it would be an interesting play to go for Self-Earthquake plus Low Kick. I think what I have to do is... Alright, crap. Just enough. Let's see what they go for here. They're probably going for parting shot. Yeah. Which does make things a little bit scary, but let's think here. I'm gonna guess, if I'm being honest, that this KOs. Stupid play. Very just dumb play. I don't know why. Yeah. So that's fine. I don't hate that, obviously. A little annoying. We do live it. We get the citrus. Okay. So I was gonna say I'm a little bit worried that this doesn't KO, but the switch helps. So now, I'm actually not in a terrible position. We bring in Blastoise, we tear a Fake Out, we go for Low Kick. Even better. I'm actually kind of happy they lived, I'm gonna be honest. So here I'm gonna do something risky, which is bank on them going down. And I'm going to say that knockoff is my best slot. Very unfortunate. Alright, GG's. So I actually had them pinned and I just needed to call the double target, that being important. Because basically, as long as I take out Arch that turn, there's no way that they can get out of it by bringing in the right thing at the right time. So, like, it's not even that we had the wrong Pokemon there, like we needed to play very carefully, right? And I did not play carefully enough. So there's two things. I think I made the right play the turn before that by going for the low kick on Incin because we needed the damage technically, but I could have gone for the low kick on the Arch the turn before that, and then gone for the low kick or Spear the next turn, but that would have given the Incin a chance to not switch out and go for Flare Blitz, which would have put me in an also kind of meh position. So it was close, and I definitely had a play, let's just say that. So I think the thing that I'm feeling with Slowbro is that like we keep ending up in positions where I don't really want, like I'm almost like wanting to start Wim Slowbro, you know what I mean? It's like maybe I'll click Tailwind, maybe I'll click Slowbro, like maybe I'll do both, you know what I'm saying? So it's definitely interesting. Because, like, realistically, what would be my best start here? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I wasn't doing that, I would lead Whimsicott Blastoise. You know what I'm saying? And that's not really that bad of a lead in any way, shape, or form. It just needs to be very careful. Alright, so we did a quick switch there. I do think that technically Garchomp has a lot of good utility here, but I also think so like what can I really do here? Because I think there's two plays, right? Play one is you go for Moonblast, Dark Pulse. The other play is you go for Moonblast Aura Sphere. The other play is you go for Moonblast Water Spout, right? And I think it's very obvious that our opponent should be Mega and Aggron this turn, right? And I just want to kind of get damage into this Friggrath while also threatening Technically my best play might have been Dark Pulse Water Spout, I'm not denying that. But that's good damage. And they would just go for this, which does a lot. So unfortunately, we do need 2 Moonblasts here. I also kind of get the sense that 2 Moonblasts here might be able to do it though, so I'm gonna kind of just go for this. Yeah. So let's see what we can pull off. Not enough, unfortunately. But we do have Slowbro, who is a very slow bro. Maybe not slower than Aggron, but, you know, we got moves. Ooh. But is it stronger? That's a question. I do actually think that we should do more damage than Moonblast, but do I... Yeah, I think we can probably do it. Like, hey, that's a quick draw. Just KO, please. Yeah. That's a quick draw. Slowbro's fun. You gotta admit that. Slowbro's fun. Yeah. Look, McGee. I see you. Out here. There's the Pokemans. Thinking you play the Pokemon. That's a quick draw. That's a quick claw. Too quick. Just Badmantins. But they get the sucker punch first. That's so rude. How could you give them this? Okay, it's not over. Okay, that's pretty much over. GG. Okay, so this is kind of why I said that Trick Room Imprison Farigiraf would be good over the Slowbro slot. Like, I know Slowbro's funny. I love Slowbro. Everyone loves Slowbro. But you know, sometimes, technically I could have reversed the Trick Room, so I'm not gonna say like we didn't have outs, you know, but it would have basically been, we would have the Moonblast, we would Trick Room, Protect, Moonblast, let them sucker punch us or switch out. Yeah, so it's not like we didn't have plays, but it just, let's see how a Trick Room Imprison Farigiraf feels compared to that. This team's been fun though. This team has been fun for sure. I don't like that we're losing a bunch now that we're making this one adjustment. Because it's like, maybe I should have just kept Gengar. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. Alright, so let's see. Teams. Training. Because I do technically have Taunt Incineroar, right? So it's like, I literally could just be using my Taunt Incineroar that I actually have. You know what I'm saying? But That was fun. That was fun. We didn't win a single game with that. We had a lot of fun. And we were pretty much close to winning every game. So I think there's something to be said about that. We didn't win, and we were 0 of 3, but we almost were 3 of 3. If we had made like one different decision in each game. Well, in the third game was closer for sure. And the first game was just RNG, right? It was we needed them to stay frozen. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, this is the sauce. This is the sauce. So Beedrill is a scary Pokemon, that is for sure. It kind of feels like I'm supposed to lead this, if I'm being honest. And then Blastoise, Meowscarada. So like I said, this team has a very, like, one of the interesting things about it is it feels like we don't use Incineroar. You know what I'm saying? Like, Incineroar's there. In some matches it does things, but like, you don't just use it all the time in the way that like it feels pivotal to other teams. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is a perfectly fine lead. We do need to be careful, of course, about... I feel like I just go for Protect, Rock Slide. Alright. Flinchers? No? Yeah, they were predicting a Sash. Yeah, Beedrill back there, my boy. You got Beedrill. Got my boy. Alright, so let's just set the Tailwind. Go for the Rock Slide. I don't think we technically needed Tailwind this turn, but like, why not? Kinda. Like, they might go for Icy Wind. Yeah. So I kind of feel like I should be locking them in to that move, if I'm being honest. I think I want to go for Encore Rock Slide. Yeah. So we'll do that. Missing Milo is fine. I really don't want to miss Beedrill here. I mean, you know, unfortunately it's a Beedrill. I'm just gonna say that. GG. So sometimes you just get a winger, you know what I'm saying? but we are bouncing around Ultra Ball tier pretty relentlessly, which I don't love. I'd like to, or unrelentingly, I don't know what the word is. We gotta bump those numbers up, you know. We're in Ultra Ball rank 1. Like that's the one where you're almost out of it. Like let's get it going. Alright, so now the way that this team functions is basically like we're really not even using Farigiraf a lot of the time. There is ways in which I could see this being a Farigiraf game, because if you look at their team, it looks like ridiculously fast. You know what I'm saying? So like technically, if I were able to put myself in a good position by leading like Farigiraf Blastoise with Ensign Chomp in the back. So this will be an interesting one, right? Because like we have a lot of scary things, and they quote unquote have scary things, you know what I mean? Like, so here, go for Trick Room, go for... I would like to see if this is Wide Guard Aerodactyl. I also kind of messed up by not tearing, because this Rock Slide will do significantly more. And I flinched, so geez. So we just need to live on Moonblast here. Or... yeah, that's fine. Dumb play. I didn't make a good play. They're lurking. We got lurkers in the chat, Antelope. Except you. Now you're not lurking. You said something. What up, man? So I definitely threw that one by not targeting the Floette that turn, because of the amount of investment that I have in my what's it called? Because of the amount of investment that I have, I could have technically doubled up the Floette and probably got a KO with Twin Beam Flare Blitz. And it doesn't leave us in a much better position, but it definitely leaves us in, like, a position. So here... yeah, that's kind of annoying, but it is what this is the right play. It doesn't win us the game, but it is the right play. They could sauce on us, of course. Like, we're technically not playing well right now. I would have been in a better position to just match their tailwinds, kind of. But they do go fast. And they're actually very slow, which we did not have the ability to expect. So we were definitely in a better position if we let Whimsicott. I tried to get creative and it did not work out. I do think we had a play, kind of like I've been saying about all the other losses. Like, I think we technically had plays, but it was really just the Flare Blitz into the Floette and the Twin Beam, and then even after that, like, we gotta be careful, you know what I mean? So lots of losing today, unfortunately. Not exactly a good look for the team after it was doing so well. But I just kind of think that the dual mode option changes the way that the team plays very heavily, and you don't click it enough. You know what I'm saying? So this is another instance where it kind of just feels like, you know, what do I actually do? Like, do I start for a graph and click Imprison? Like, is that actually winning me the game? It feels more like Whimsicott Blastoise with like Meowscarada, Instant. No. Kind of has to be the Shark. The Shark just needs to be very careful. And I'll be honest, like, again, this could be a for graph game. Like, we're really having to pick our battles here. Cause yeah, look at that, Spiritomb. Like, Spiritomb's a good boy. They traced my prankster. So let's go for Moonblast. Let's go for Water Spout. We don't know who's going to move first, but I want to do damage. I'm afraid that this water spout does not KO them. We know that Spiritomb is a bulky boy, especially if it has Citrus Berry and it gets taken down past the Citrus Berry. So let's just say that. No citrus. Alright, cool. Oh, God. Scary stuff, you know, it's like you can't call everything every time. You just can't. But we got rid of the threat, so that's point. Hey, go, I mean, pop off. Pop off, my dude. Pop off. That's a pop off. So unfortunately, now they can't do anything. They have to switch something and not do anything with the other thing, and then play revolving door games. Sass, what up, my man? We're encore locking them. That's the, as the kids say, TLDR. I actually don't know what TLDR stands for. I'm gonna be honest. The lowdown. I don't actually know what it means. So. Yeah. Alright. Solid damage. They will get a competitive boost. But the way these encore turns go, there's no way they can get out. So they've got to like switch Milo here technically, but like, like what can you really do, you know? You got the turn one right, and that's what really mattered. Yeah, so they do switch Milo. Yeah, and then now we just click Tailwind Water Spout, so. Citrus Chomp. Citrus Chomp means that I can click Moonblast Water Spout though, so. Yeah. GG's.
So just not good positioning for them, unfortunately.
But we're still kind of fighting for our lives here in that there matchup. Thank you. I love the moon. By Phony People. Is that who it's by? I like the Tiny Desk concert of it. I know that much. Okay. So again, I actually do think Meowscar's Sada looks pretty strong here. And if anything, the thing that we're gonna need to be careful about is Sylveon. That's a Sylveon. That's a scary boy right there. Like, let's be honest. Sylveon ain't no slap. Sylveon ain't no Magini. Let's go for Tailwind. So technically I should have switched out the shark there, I just don't have a good switch. And I mean, like, technically I'm like flinch. You know what I mean? So now we bring out Blastoise. So we have a very awkward set of plays going here, but it's not impossible. I am going to allow them to KO my Whims this turn. Like, I could go for Fake Out Encore, and that be, like, technically the right play, I guess. But then I don't get the damage this turn. And I actually really like getting this damage on Charizard. Because we get this damage, and then we put them in range of Flower Trick plus Water Spout. Yeah, like, I don't love taking that damage. But I do think that Meowscarada is kind of positioned decently enough that we can just keep clicking Water Spout right now and go for this Flower Trick. Yes. So no surprise. Yeah, that's getting a little scary here for sure. Technically, I do think this is still our best. Yeah. So, I should have not gone for Water Spout again, but I was kind of just afraid that we wouldn't do enough. And I get it, like, it's a bit of a silly assumption, but at the same time... That puts us in a very interesting position. So... I think we're probably gonna lose this. Alright. So I would need to really think about what was bad in that matchup that happened. Like... we really kind of just did not have the stuff, if you get what I'm saying. And so what it kind of points towards is we either take off Incin for something that can help us beat matchups like that. Obviously, you know, something like Gudra, or like it technically needs to be like something that doesn't necessarily mine Charizard, but also can deal with Sylveon, which is definitely annoying, you know what I mean? So Sneasler is not really the solve there. If anything, you could start, if you had Sneasler, you could start Sneasler, Shark. And so, like, technically, if I was doing the thing that I've been avoiding the whole time, we would just do this, and we would say, look, like, that's a team. You know what I'm saying? And I just haven't really wanted to do that because I know that it's easy to just gravitate towards Sneasler. So let's try this Gengar for at least, like, 1 or 2 matches, and then just use Sneasler, because obviously Sneasler's the Pokemon that we're supposed to be using. But I don't think that Sneasler has a good enough Trick Room matchup. And that is where some of these more niche picks of like Farigiraf or Gengar or something come into play. Because like here, yeah, this is like super annoying, but technically I can lead Incin Gengar. And like we're having fun. So, you know, it's like I don't love it, but let's be honest, like it does work. It does work. We have Gengar. We have the Shark. And then Meowscarada is kind of awkward. Blastoise is not perfect, but it definitely works. I'm interested in trying to leave out Blastoise this time, but I think that we need to be really careful about doing that. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of wondering if once we stop Trick Room, Meowscarada becomes, like, very scary. But I also think technically Blastoise does that too. It just doesn't match up in the Sneasler perfectly. Alright, annoying people. So they should be going for a scrappy fake out into my Gengar. And then we the next turn just kind of do what we gotta do. I mean, like, it's not perfect. They do bring him forward. So this definitely gets interesting, because we'll do some pretty decent damage here. Yeah. Citrus. But with the poison, you can't get out. So now you can do that. Great. I mean, hey, shoot or shoot, like, let's just say that. A lot. Okay. So I guess I, like, forgot that I could click fake out there. I don't know. That's on me, I guess. GG's. No, I couldn't click fake out. They just were kind of locking me there. Alright, well, that's unfortunate. I definitely did not see that one coming. And I definitely didn't see that one coming, and I'm definitely just not sure, like, what I would have done to get around that. Like, so we've been getting trashed left and right by Trick Room today, which is really unfortunate. It does mean that we kind of should bring back the Frigorap. Well, it's either we bring back Frigoraph or we just use a better team, right? Like, because I've been trying to make this team work, like, all day, and it's just not doing things. And like I said, one of the main problems is definitely that we just don't use Incineroar that often. Right. Like I could bring it into some Trick Room. Or I mean some Tailwind matches, you know. But I don't find myself doing that so much, and I also don't necessarily have a strong Trick Room team outside of Trick Room. So it just leaves us in a very, like, polarized situation that I feel like, yeah. Because other than that, it's like, what could I do? I could switch out Incineroar for the Slug. You know, we do have a Slug here. Slug does Slug things. So you never know. You never know. Alright, so what can we say about this matchup? This is not a terrible Trick Room matchup. It's a little bit awkward, but like technically I do think if we just start the Slug and just start trying to set up, like it becomes really awkward for our opponent. The only problem is, do we actually have the stuff to chuff? And that's a question. Do we have the stuff to chuff? Because I'm not super sure about that. I do know, however, we have Twin Beam, and Twin Beam has the stuff to chuff. So here, two, there, four, I think we're kind of cooking. So, that just leaves us to answer who my last best is. And I don't hate the Shark, I just think, like, technically we have a lot of things that don't like Blizzard spam. So, we need to, like, basically use our Trick Room well. So they do go Clefable Rotom, which I think is fine. Don't love it. But we can go Trick Room. And we can go... I do feel like setting up the shelters feels kind of important right now. Okay. So we set up a shelter. We go for Twin Beam, Heavy Slam, and I don't know who's gonna move first, but I wouldn't be surprised if Clefable has Citrus Berry. So I would have liked for a Graph to go first, but that's fine. I don't really see this KOing. Yeah. We go for a very, very greedy second Calm Mind. Incredibly greedy. They go for Thunderbolt again. I kind of feel like they just give you a game sometimes. They're like, you know, like, it looks like it's been going a little rough for you, like, just take this one. Technically, I should have gone for Body Press into Rotom. Looks like we are speed tying our Farigiraf and our Slug. Alright, well, you know what, like, the Slug did kind of do things. Like, the Slug did kind of do things. They said something about winning without any of my Pokemon fainting, which is dope. There was a crazy medal in, like, Pokemon ZA that was, like, win something amount of matches. Or maybe it was just one match without any of your Pokemon dying, but, like, it's kind of rough. Let's be honest, it's kind of rough. So, let's just lead Wims and... I kind of feel like... This looks awkward, but it definitely looks doable. I think the Slug is also very doable, but it just, like... We need to get it set up, and we would need to get the right things off the field first. And I just don't feel comfortable, like, having to do all of that. So I'd rather commit to clicking this Tailwind. And yeah. So kind of similar situation to last time. Definitely uncomfortable damage for sure. So I feel like we're seeing that this game plan falters, and that's kind of part of its problem. Like, this game plan only works so well. Like, we click Water Spout, doesn't do a lot. We go for Light Screen, which is scary. We go for Encore. Switch back in. It's a rough one. So it's nice. Yeah, it's fine. We're gonna have to be very careful here. So I'm tailwinding, I'm earthquaking myself. We might live it. Yeah. Luckily, Floor just has a very low defense and we get a crit, so. So in that case, I think my best play is pretty much always just Moonblast here, switching Blastoise. Even if they go for a play that kind of gets them out of it, we should still win. Yeah, like even if you protect Garchomp, we pretty much are fine. Because what this endgame is pretty much going to turn into here is, yeah, it's a pretty uphill battle, like, because we click Fake Out Rock Slide, and then we click Rock Slide, Dark Pulse, and then we click, you know, Triple Axle, Dark Pulse if we have to, but technically we need to be careful about Triple Axle miss possibility. Yeah, Meowscarada Finland. We love Meowscarada. Use dark moves. We've only won 4 battles today. That kinda hurts. Kinda hurts my game. We've only won 4 battles today. According to the game. We have fun though. We have fun. So here's the scary stuff. Here is the scary stuff. But this is what we have the big old giraffe for, which is fortunate. We've got the big old giraffe. And TBH, I do not hate starting giraffe plus like Meowscarada with shark and slug. I think technically we could leave out shark for Blastoise, and I've said that before. You just never know though, you know? Where there's an earthquake, there's a way. And obviously we did crit our opponent in that last one, so that needs to be said, but like, I think we were actually already in a pretty good position. Let's go from prison. So I definitely started the right lead here, as you can see. I mean, my guy, but... This is one of those situations where I say you have one too, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you have one. Like, you literally have one on the field. Like... you literally have one on the field. Alright, so here I am just going to... So let's be honest, like, this is gonna do considerable damage, I think. Yeah, especially if they do that. But... in that situation... I can bring out the slug. And I can start setting up the slug. We go for Twin Beam. We go for Shelter. Hey, I get it, my game. I get it. Just slug things. So that I was a little bit worried about, but I do think that generally I would expect to live at least a hit. Like, have you seen the bulk on this thing? Like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like, just gonna throw that out there. Farigiraf might take like 80%. Slug, we're taking like 60. You know what I'm saying? Even better we move first. GG's. The slug hurts, man. Like, or I mean, what I technically meant to say was the slug eats hits. And I'll show you guys my slug spread after we win this. Just slug things. I kind of would have liked to know how much Heavy Slam does, but whatever. This might KO. I kind of feel like they're gonna live with like 4%, maybe. Okay, so GG's. We did a little bit more than I expected with that body press. But I guess I just wasn't paying enough attention to the citrus berry field. So I will show you guys the bulk on this slug, and you will see why this thing is built to do things like that. So look at that. Look at that. That's a fat slug. Like, you think that helping hand hyper voice is doing a lot. You're doing, I'm saying, like I said, like 50 to 60, you know? And even that is still impressive. But Farigiraf here, yeah, I think Farigiraf is taking maybe like 80, 90, you know? So it's a strong hyper voice, you know. Let's not discount that. But slug's a slug. Pokemon. Okay. So technically I don't hate starting these here. I just think it starts to become like a and then what type of game, right? Like, you know, if I'm doing that and then where do we go? Right? So I kind of think if anything we should be starting like Meowscarada Whims with Blastoise and Slug. Like, I actually think that this Slug is one of our best answers for this Meganium. Like, I know that Heavy Slam might not do as much to Meganium, but we're gonna see here. Because they do start Pelipper Dragonite. And we start Meowscar Scotus and Drago. Or I mean, yeah, you guys get it. Okay, so let's click. Let's click Tailwind. Let's click Trip Blast. Yeah, I was gonna say, this is already scary for your mains. Sucks. There you go for her. That sucks. Let's think here. So I do think my best play is actually probably triple axle and then moonblast this slot. I just want to keep them in range of a focus blast. Or I mean, Boar Sphere. That sucks. So we see them go for the Electro Shot, which is a little scary. So we're getting some really bad luck here. Bad luck is not unforgoable, or whatever the word is. But it's getting scary quick, I should say. I think there's a chance that I could have just clicked Water Spout here. We're gonna have to see. So our opponent is just playing well, unfortunately. That's nice damage, I will admit. Go for shelter. poke. So here... Yeah, so here we go for protect. Protect. Heavy slam. Fine, because I do believe that puts them in range of a Moonblast. And then so I could have double protected, I could have Tailwind. They are actually going to switch. Unfortunately, not enough, I would say. So I would need to think about what we needed to do here. Like, we did have that turn where we had the water spout, you know what I mean? And we didn't go for it. But the reality is that, like, all those hurricane confuses really got us. And it's unfortunate. It's how it is. I mean, it's how it is. It's how it is. But yeah. Because they should just Tailwind. Yeah. So, in some weird way, like, because this is resisted, I actually don't think that's true. I don't think this is a roll. I think they just live this body press. And then we have to figure it out from there. Yeah, because you click. Yeah, Rain Dance this turn. And then you click double moves next turn. Or you click, I don't know. Like, I think this is an impressive showing by the Slug, I just don't think that it worked. And mainly it's because we got confused, you know what I mean? So, technically I should be sparing our opponent the misery of dealing with this. I'm just kind of interested in, like, is there actually some way we could win this way? No. That's a fat Slug. Yeah, GG's. Alright, I'm going to pop off the stream for a sec. And then I will be back. So, like, RNG happens, and you're not going to be able to get around that. But I will say that it was really the confusion on the Meowscarada that felt like the bad one. Like, because if we don't get that, we can triple axle the Pelipper the next turn and make it more difficult for them. But technically, if we get neither, excuse me, technically if we get neither, we're in a really good position. So, okay, this is scary because our opponent definitely has a lot that they can do. You're right. So, I am slightly interested in a lead of like Shark Slug or Slug Meowscarada. Actually, I think looks scary for them with Shark and maybe Whims in the back. I think honestly, like. Yeah. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they do still try to set up something in terms of speed control. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So in that case, we kind of have our pick here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for Shelter and Flower Trick. Yeah, so I mean, like, this is just a good lead on my part. Like, I identified the right lead and I read it. Like, it's like, yeah. You know, sometimes that's just how the game goes. But that being said, there was other ways this game could have gone. Okay. So they'll bring out Sinistra, which is definitely a little annoying. We go for knockoff Heavy Slam. I don't really think they can beat the Slug anymore, but I do think we need to play carefully now. Like, technically I could have gone for the triple axle. I just think, like, when you have a chance to click knockoff, why not? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what if it's a Citrus? Might be a Culver, but that's a lot. Leftovers. Alright. So that's a lot. Luckily we have Citrus Meowscarada, which has been weirdly clutch, I have to be honest. And we have Heavy Slam. Nice. Hey man. Sometimes you just gotta do big things, right? Sometimes you just gotta do big things. Master Ball point again. We're at Master Ball point. Don't fumble. Don't freak out. But, you know what they say. You lose this one, you gotta win 2 more. Nobody likes that. What I do like is that it's only 10:40. Okay. So this is a little scary for sure. Excuse me. I do think that my best lead is probably Whims plus the Shark. And then potentially or slug. Slug. And Meowscarada could be very interesting in this endgame. We just need to be very careful with it. So what I'm thinking about here is actually I want to bait our opponent into trying to target the slug, and then I want to just go for Trick Room, but I'm afraid that they have Taunt Talented. And if they do, I technically have ways around it, but it's not perfect. Okay. Yeah, you gotta do that. But in comes Bloom, which lives on a slip. Alright, so we're kind of just rolling here now because we can bring in Blastoise and we can say no matter what, I always just Water Spout and Body Press. Yeah, so that's fine. We're actually not in a guaranteed winning position, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So what's gonna happen here is, yeah, they'll bring in Sneeze. They have to basically fake out the right thing, and they need to be slower than my Glim, which all of these are not impossible. Or I mean, they need their Glim to be slower than me, which is scary, but yeah. So they fake out the wrong slot, unfortunately for them. We get the Body Press off. I think here we know that they have Protect on Sneasler, I think. So I call that wrong, very unfortunately, because it might lose us the game. Yeah, very unfortunate wrong call there. Because ooh, followed by another one. Okay, that's okay. So this is getting scary, but it is not over for sure. We bring out Meowscarada. We change into a fighting type, I guess. And we go for this, and we hope that we're faster than them, which we might not be. But we do live. Scary stuff, man. Scary stuff. So, the thing about that is that, like, my opponent, if they do go for the close combat, still probably dies from the water spout. Even though the water spout is so low, like, there's just a very, very good chance that, that water spout would have still got the job done. So, unfortunately for our opponent there, you know, not much they can do about that. But I actually think that was a really scary... That was a very scary way to have things go, you know? Did not look like a good endgame there. And technically, like, yes, I could have called that they weren't going to protect Sneasler, but I'm pretty sure they showed Protect. I guess I don't remember. Give me more box space. Give me more box space. Come on. Yeah. Pull in our Johnnies here. Get some wins with Psychics. What Psychic type are we using now? Frigoraph? Frigoraph's fun. Sometimes you got a Twin Beam. What does this say? Recruit a Pokemans? I can recruit a Pokemans. You know what I'm saying? I can recruit a Pokemans. So this was the last lineup they gave me. I was looking at this Jolteon and I was being like, alright, look, don't count me out, but maybe count me in. I think at this point now that we've kind of settled on a version of the team that I like a little bit more, I'll probably just go with that, right? And then just send it back and then do something else. I am interested in trying a speed swap Alakazam one day. Maybe not someday soon. Now that we're back in Master Ball tier that we don't really have to worry about it, you know what I mean? Ooh, Cerulege. Ooh, Ditto. We got some sauce. Gallade. Runerigus. Runerigus is a fun boy. Mouse. Hey man, you never know when you're gonna need a Ditto. You know what I'm saying? But I am in some way interested in trying Weirdeer sometime. Maybe not this Weirdeer. Alright. We'll see how I feel about that Cerulege. Kinda just wasted a little money on it, it's fine. Alright. Alright, so here is this team that we built for today's video. It's definitely interesting, I'm gonna be honest. Like, you know, I for quite some time was trying to figure this team out, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it felt like we had a core 4 of Meowscarada, Garchomp, Whimsicott, and Blastoise, and then like we were really just playing with those other 2 slots quite a lot. Like, we had Incin in the Goodra slot, and we were playing with the Meowscarada slot for a little, but Meowscarada I think kind of proved its weight, and then Incin kind of felt like it just wasn't supporting the team the way that we needed it to. Like, Blastoise was pretty much always the preferred lead in cases where, you know, you might want to lead Incin. So, like, you know, I don't know. Incin very quickly just became, like, a pretty awkward mechanic on the team. But, like, it's not like I necessarily wanted to replace it with King Gambit or something either. Which, I do think actually could be pretty decent in the Goodra slot. It's just, I don't know, you know, Goodra does Goodra things, can we be honest? Like, it's a slug. And then in the Farigiraf slot, we were trying quite a few things, right? We tried like Machamp, we tried Orthworm, we tried Gengar, and everything just felt a little bit awkward. Like, we tried, I actually thought that the Quick Draw, Quick Claw, Slowbro was like interesting, but it just didn't support the team quite well enough, and we were falling like just short on a lot of wins, which is pretty unfortunate, right? So there's definitely some dual mode going on here, obviously, right? Like, we don't have a super strong Trick Room mode of the team, which I think is part of the team's problem. Because, like, if you do decide that Trick Room is comfortable and you're not just leading Farigiraf to click Imprison, like, your opponent needs to have a really fast team, and you're, like, literally bringing Farigiraf, Goodra, plus Blastoise and something, right? Like, something that's good outside of Trick Room, you know? And then you're leading, obviously, Farig Goodra or Farig Blastoise and then the other thing just kind of waiting in the back, generally going to be Garchomp or Meowscarada, right? But, you know, technically I guess you could start like Farig Garchomp or Farig Meowscarada. I'm not saying you can't. We also started Blastoise Meowscarada in some game, 1 or 2 I think, to decent benefit, right? And yeah, so it's an interesting team. Like, I will say that sometimes it feels like we'd like a little bit more protects on the team, so maybe like Meowscarada could have protect over knockoff or triple axle. I think both have come in clutch, like, sometimes. I think triple axle definitely feels like the one we click the least, but like having that type to switch into is kind of nice, and it definitely can put in work sometimes, you know what I'm saying? If we were gonna do anything else to mitigate that, we would have to just change the Garchomp set, right? But I actually think that Wims plus Garchomp has proven to be a pretty scary lead on this team, and having the Scarf is actually kind of clutch in quite a few matchups, you know what I mean? So there's that. Looking at the spreads, we do have a fast Blastoise, which is a partial anti-synergy with the Trick Room part of the team. Like, I will say that. It really means, like I said, like, if you're going for the Trick Room mode of the team, you're more than likely looking at your opponent's team, and you're being like, this is a very aggressive, like, hyper offense team, you know? They've got Aerodactyl Charizard with, you know, like, Basculegion Glim or something stupid like that, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, plus Sneasler. And in that case, like, Farigiraf Blastoise is a very good lead. Farigiraf Goodra can be very scary into a lot of those teams. And so, yeah, like, there's that. But you just need to be careful the way that the Blastoise speed tier will interact with certain things. Like, sometimes if your opponent were to lead, say, like, King Gambit plus something and try to stop your Trick Room that way, like, you might find yourself wanting to just click Aura Sphere Trick Room turn 1. And, you know, it might not KO the King Gambit, but we do have the Culver Berry. So, you know, there's that. And Goodra is also obviously a pretty decent counter to things like King Gambit as well, if you can get it set up in time. So, yeah. It's a pretty fun team, pretty, like, in my head, linear, you know? Like, we start all those things that I already said with Farigiraf quite often. Besides that, we're starting, like, Wims Garchomp, Wims Blastoise, obviously possibly Wims Meowscarada, but I think Meowscarada as a lead is better when you don't start Wims. Like, if I'm starting, you know, that Blastoise Meowscarada game we had that was really scary, that maybe, like, if I'm leading Garchomp Meowscarada to threaten, like, technically that would have been good into some of those, like, Garchomp Sylveon leads, which, debatable, I'm gonna be honest, like, still kind of debatable, but I think that Flower Trick Rock Slide would still do quite a lot to Sylveon, and then if they get flinched, even better, obviously, you know what I mean? But so, like, we do have that, we do have answers to annoying things, and I definitely think the team's worth trying, because it did get us a pretty effective push there into Master Ball tier when all the other versions of the team were failing. Like, we got like 5 wins and 1 loss, I think, back to back, and it was 3 wins, 1 loss, and then 2 wins, right? But I think, like, one of the first games we played was definitely a little iffy, you know, so there is that. But either way, we had fun. The team does things, I will definitely say, compared to the last version of the team. and it is worth trying, and we will get a video out with it. So that's gonna be it for me for the day. After this 2-hour stream, we'll end nice and early today compared to some of the last ones. And I hope you guys enjoyed. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Sass. I Love the Moon by Phony People. And Antelope. Alright.